Hi, everyone. It is so exciting to be here. We have worked so hard this past year to make these videos and this collective happen. My name is Jamie Sanborn, and I'm the horn player with the Spring Wind Quintet based in Honolulu, Hawaii. You wouldn't know I was in Hawaii by my background. Sorry, I just needed to find a quiet space. And co-hosting this event with me is
Hi, I'm Susan Miranda. I'm the oboist with the Chione Wind Quintet in the Twin Cities in Minnesota.
Um, thank you, Susan. I'm so excited. We have worked so hard. I mean, like working in different time zones, working across an ocean, and trying to collaborate with all these amazing composers. It's been an amazing experience, and we're so excited to have gotten to this point. Just to let you all know, apologies for the tech problems. This is a different link, as you know. Hopefully, you found it okay. We may run into some tech problems during this premiere just because, this is new for our collective and we're a grassroots organization and we're hoping to just make this as smooth as possible. But the videos will be uploaded onto our YouTube channel as well as each separate Woodwind Quintet's own website and pages. So you will be able to see them there as well after this live stream premiere event. So I just wanted to give a brief background of what the collective is and who we are. So as Susan and I just said, I am part of the Spring Wind Quintet in Honolulu, Hawaii, and joining us in this collective was Chione Quintet in Minneapolis, as well as Adelante Winds in San Antonio. And we also have our friends in Oregon Wind Quintet joining us from Eugene, Oregon for this collective. We began this collective just because we wanted during the quarantine times, during the pandemic, which we're still in the midst of, we felt like it was a great time to bring people together when we were feeling very apart. And so here in Honolulu, it's easy to feel apart because we're an island in the middle of nowhere. So we wanted to join with other wooden quintets and create something that was not only new for us, but something that would last past us and speak to everything that we were feeling during 2020, and not just then, but still to this day, unfortunately. And so this was just, it came out of the idea of bringing people together. But then with everything going on, we wanted to definitely highlight underrepresented composers, and we just wanted to bring people together during this time. Um, so the Breathe title is an acronym that was actually we made together, mostly from Steve, part of Oregon Wind Quintet, and it stands for Blending Responsive Experiences of Art Towards Healing Empathy. And we chose that title because we're all wind players and we rely on the breath to make our sound. And with the murder of George Floyd, the wildfires along the coasts, and with COVID-19, that literally takes your breath away, we thought it was very relevant to what we were trying to showcase with these pieces. So, Susan, would you like to share our mission statement with everybody?
Absolutely. So our mission statement is to commission and record, or it's a commissioning and recording project which engages underrepresented composers in the creation of new works for winds that illuminate the significance of breath in an ongoing cultural narrative about systemic racism, police brutality against the Black community, and the impact of COVID-19. And, as Jamie said, we just have had our breath taken away. So the Breathe Collective was the perfect name for us to choose.
Yeah. Susan, can you, so without further ado, we would like to get this show on the road. Susan, can you introduce the first piece for us?
Absolutely. So Chione Quintet decided to work with Dr. Powell Nash, who is a composer in Nashville, Tennessee. I had the fantastic opportunity to read through some of his oboe miniatures, and when I shared them with the rest of the quintet, we just absolutely loved his writing. And honestly, I would love for the piece to speak for itself. So this is Stop for Equity by Dr. Gary Powell Nash. Thank you, Gary, for that phenomenal piece that you wrote, Keone. We were so thrilled to work with Gary, and we want to share just a little bit about the piece. So, because we happen to be the Twin Cities or the Minneapolis Quintet, it was clear that there really was no other topic around our kind of breathe theme that was better than some of the horrid things that happened in May of last year. So, Gary, there is a lot of numerical intricacy in the piece that you wrote for us. Can you just tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. Can you all hear me? Because interestingly enough, I don't know if the video just finished, at least for Zoom. I could not hear it at all through Zoom, so I was kind of looking at the video, and the video is a little delayed. So I don't know if that was supposed to be intentional.
I think because we're live, the stream that goes through YouTube shows before we see it. So if you will just tell everybody listening all of the fantastic things and why you chose, you know, the numbers and all of that fun stuff, they all just heard it, and now it'll be really interesting to kind of understand where it came from.
Okay. So 846 was the original published or publicized time that Derek Chauvin had his knee on George Floyd's neck. And I picked that, well, a couple reasons. I mean, not only just through the spirit of the project, but also just the fact that around that, shortly after that incident, my daughter, who's 10 now, she drew a picture. So I guess of George Floyd and Derek Chauvin's knee on his neck, and mentioned I can't breathe. And then one day, when she was just learning how to ride a bicycle, she mentioned that she wanted to ride her bicycle for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. And at that time too, I was just finishing up another composition. In fact, it was for oboe ensemble that dealt with asymmetrical meters. Actually, it was mostly in 7. And so I just happened to think of 846 and said, you know, I think I could make a piece out of this, especially something that relates to this project. So it has the one rhythm that goes through 8/8 time, and that is 8/8 uses an asymmetrical meter. So groups of 3, 3, and 2, or some variant of that. And then measure of 4/8, and then another measure. Well, I said 3/4 because if I did 6/8, it wouldn't come. Well, I won't say it wouldn't come out right, but I chose 3/4 that representing 6/8. So that permeates all through the piece. That is that. So I repeat that pattern, or at least a rhythm based on that pattern. And the first time I do it 8 times, and then there's another motive that's still based on that same rhythm pattern 4 times, and then I do it again 6 times, and then I have an interlude, just everyone doing a little solo section, and then I repeat it, and that's how I picked the piece. And then the title itself too is based on that, because 8 stop represents 8 because of stop sign, and then 4 homophone for the number 4, and then equity has 6 letters. So that's how I came up with that.
Yeah, so 8/8/4/6 is through the entire piece in each and every single measure and motive. It was a really fantastic piece for us to work with, and thank you so much for writing it for Chione and for the rest of the collective.
Thank you for inviting me to compose it.
Thank you so much, Dr. Gary Powell Nash. I was really surprised when I heard your piece, but hearing it described, I mean, it makes sense. And the story with your daughter, it's a really personal story. And thank you for sharing that with us today. We really appreciate it. And we appreciate you being a part of this collective. And thank you to Chione and all the personnel of Chione. Great playing. Loved it, loved it, loved it. And it was beautiful backdrop. Oh my gosh. How you guys got that hotel is amazing. I'm so lucky to get that venue. It was beautiful. So now I get the privilege of introducing our second piece, which is by composer Mark Thomas Taylor. And he was commissioned by the Oregon Wind Quintet. And the piece is titled Room to Breathe.
Hi, I'm Mark Taylor, and I'm the composer of Room to Breathe. I want to start off by thanking the Oregon Wind Quintet and the Breathe Collective for selecting me to compose this piece for their 2020-2021 commissioning series. I was excited and surprised when they contacted me about composing this new piece, And we immediately set about deciding on a conceptual framework that the piece would be based on. After we talked about it a bit, we decided on an idea to try to reflect some light onto the many ways in which African American culture, resilience, and our ability to reshape, adapt, and improvise with whatever we're given under any circumstance has influenced, led, and shaped American culture in general. Now, to do this, I chose a song recorded by a man named George W. Johnson as the seed material for my piece. Now, George Johnson was a street entertainer in New York City in the late 1800s. Now, the song I chose was called The Whistling Coon. It was recorded in 1891 and has lyrics that are an example of the type of stereotypical imagery of Black people that was common at the time and that today would be considered extremely questionable at best. Johnson's whistling, however, was an extreme contrast to the lyrics of the song and how they portrayed him and people who looked like him. His whistling was accurate and light and fleet and beautiful. This was even more interesting to me because there was no recording duplication technology at the time. So if they wanted 50 recordings of the song, he had to perform the song 50 times. I also peppered in what you might call Americana themes, just little fragments and quotes from different songs. And I took all of that and placed it into a contemporary musical vocabulary. I hope that you enjoy hearing the piece and that they enjoy playing the piece as much as I enjoyed creating the piece. And so here's Room to Breathe.
Yay! Yay, Mark
Fantastic.
in Oregon. I
Jamie,
absolutely loved
I don't know
that.
about you, but my first thought when I heard this piece was, I really want to play that. And
Oh
then
my
my
gosh,
second, my second thought was, that sounds really hard.
that
What
was my
were,
first thought though. I
yeah.
really, yeah, no, sorry. I definitely want to play that piece, Mark. That's such an awesome piece. Like that is definitely my first thought. But I love the historic context, the historical context of it. I don't know where you guys found those films, but it's absolutely amazing seeing that footage with the music. I think it gives it so much character, and I absolutely love it. I love that piece. It sounds so awesome. But yeah, I love that most of the pieces you're going to hear today are very much influenced by 2020 and everything that impacted us these past 2 years, 3 years almost. But that you were able to contextualize that idea into the history of historical Black towns and the culture within that. So I think that's beautiful. Really amazing piece. And Oregon Woodwind Quintet, amazing playing, guys. That was awesome. I loved it. I loved it. You guys are all very talented. Okay, so this next piece that you're about to hear, you're actually going to see me. This is a piece composed by Jungyoon Wie, who we in the Spring Wind Quintet commissioned to compose this piece, and it is titled "Where Our Breath Comes From." And welcome back. And also welcome flutist of Spring Wind Quintet, Lance Suzuki, and joining him in person, the composer of the last piece you heard, the infamous Jungyoon Wie. Thank you for joining us, guys. They're joining us from San Francisco, and we're so glad that you're together, which is kind of a big part of this project, was just bringing closer together and creating this project was just, yeah. So anyways, Lance and Jungyoon, I will let you take it away.
Thanks, Jamie, and thanks to everyone else who's been a part of this project. It's been very meaningful for a lot of us, especially during this very challenging time. And Jung Yoon, as we were talking earlier, we were talking a little bit about the concept of breath, and your piece is titled Where Our Breath Comes From. And I'm wondering if you want to talk a little bit about how that plays out in the composition.
Yeah, so when I was writing this piece, I was really thinking deeply about the victims of these violent shootings that have been happening in this previous year. And this previous year, it's just been one of so many victims that that have died. And I was really thinking about going to their funeral and what kind of piece I would write to honor them and to honor the time that they've had on this earth, and how would I honor their families as well. So I wanted to create a piece. It's a space where everyone can come in. It's an open space where everyone can reflect upon the things that have happened in this previous year. And really, for me, writing this piece, I think about how would the 5 players in this ensemble would have to work when they have rehearsals. Would everyone have an equal footing? Would somebody's part be more important than somebody else? So I really try to create a piece where it's democratic and everyone gets to play something really important. Everyone is a melody, and everyone has a chance to have their own voice in this piece. So that's something that I thought about a lot writing this piece. And thank you so much, Spring Wind Quintet, for having this piece come true. Thank you so much, you all, for being here today.
I think we were talking about the concept of spaciousness, and if there was one word I could use to describe your piece, it would be spacious, and having room to breathe. And I wonder how that, how you feel about that.
Yeah, I mean, this past year, I think we had a lot of private time, but was it really time to breathe? And I think concert music is a great way for people to go and just, it's a time for us to listen, because when you go into a concert music, you have to sit and listen what other people have to say. So we were really deprived of the concert music in the past year. And yeah, I know that we're still not together all the way, but I'm really looking forward to the space that we're going to have in this coming year.
Yeah, and I think this, project brought us together. We had never met before, even though we live in the same city, although we're both new transplants to this city. So in a small way, this project brought us together as it's brought in a lot of our colleagues from around the country together. So I thank you to you all for your time. Thank you to Jungyoon for this fantastic piece that I'm sure we'll be playing for a very long time. And yeah, thanks everyone for having us today.
Thank you, guys. That was beautifully said. And I will just say that when I first heard this piece, I just getting to that point of hearing it was very moving and touching for me, Jungyoon, and it still is. So thank you for writing that beautiful piece. Okay, so Susan's going to join me now, I think. And apologies again to our viewers for all the tech issues. I know that there's been some lagging and some issues with that, but these videos, like I said at the beginning, will be up for viewing later on. So please do find them and watch them. Well, I'm not seeing Susan come back on, so I will just go ahead and introduce our last piece here, which, here we go, sorry, technical difficulties. I'm going to try and bring Susan back on. We have Susan.
Hey, Jamie, I am back.
Sorry, everyone. We got this. We have this. This is very new for all of, or it's new for me, anyways. I don't want to speak for all of our colleagues, but it's very new for me. Susan, would you mind introducing our last piece?
Absolutely. So, last but absolutely not least, we have Adelante Winds, and I tell you, you all are in for a treat. There is some phenomenal bassooning happening just a few seconds, and if bassooning is not a word, it should be. So here is Adelante Winds, composed by Carle Wirshba, and it is called Rain, Sunshine, a Quarantine Blues. Congratulations.
That's
Wow.
amazing. That video is just incredible. And Sabrina, you were in a pool. That's when I first saw that, I was like, oh my gosh, I don't even like go underwater. I live in Hawaii and I never go in the water. And you were like, had your eyes open and everything. That video, I mean, you're playing alone, and the piece by Carl is so great and fun. And you could really, I was messaging Carl, emailing him. Carl's not with us today, everyone. Sorry, viewers. Carl Jordan Wirshba, the composer of that last piece you heard, was unable to attend, as he is, I think he's actually in a plane right now, or maybe in a car. He's traveling. Um, but it was he. I was telling him that piece, it was just reminded me of my quarantine, my times that I spent in quarantine, and feeling anxious and feeling also helpless at the same time. I feel like in the middle part of that piece, just that feeling of not being able to do anything and feeling just like you're going crazy, but also you can really, I felt like I could really hear that in the piece. And Sabrina, I didn't know if you wanted to share your thoughts on the piece or what this project or meant to you and your group or anything along those lines. That would be great.
Sure, absolutely. So for us, when we started talking about this project in the piece, we wanted to capture the essence again of what it felt like to be in quarantine, but then also to have that hard-hitting message of what's, you know, going on. And in my head, I kind of had this dark music video. We always knew we wanted to shoot a music video. And when we got the piece, it was a little bit more sprightly sounding than we thought, than we thought we would get. And so then we started to think about, well, in film scoring, sometimes you have that juxtaposition of something very calm or happy sounding with, the mayhem that you see on the screen. And I think that also served as a really great metaphor for what's going on, that often with what's going on or has gone on in the last year, there's people who stick their head in the sands like, oh, this is not really happening, but yet it is. And then there's a lot of layers here. The lady you see in the video, her name is Deborah Jones Bush, and her nephew Marquise was shot in the back by a police officer. And so it's, again, that story that we've been hearing for the past year and a half over and over again. Only there wasn't anyone to capture it on social media. And, the gun, it wasn't even fingerprinted, and the story kept changing. And even in the trial on the stand, the story kept changing, and it was dismissed, and there was no consequence. And so for us, it was an opportunity to make sure that Marquise's story didn't just get swept under the rug. It's going to now be immortalized forever in this video. And of course, you see our quarantine struggle sitting there in front of the computer. I think anybody who has done any teaching in the last year understands that struggle. And then also there is an element of everything that's happened in the last year. It feels almost like it's been driven by something bigger than us, some very supernatural force. And that's sort of the essence of what we were trying to capture with the pool scene, going in the black dress. But then we do get to come out of that on the other end. It's like a rebirth. And so now I know people are getting back to some live concerts, which I think any of us as performers, we desperately need that, and hopefully it'll stay that way, that people continue to do what they need to do to make sure we don't go backwards. So, but that's really kind of it in a nutshell. Like I said, very layered. In some of the flashing strobe scene, you see some red and blue lights, again, all symbolic.
That's
Yeah.
fantastic, Sabrina. You know, it's really interesting because with how sprightly you mentioned the piece is, I felt the same way about our piece. And as I was kind of watching this, that scene from Dumbo with the train going up saying, I think I can, I think I can, you know, and just as you said with the dresses, the black to the white dress, I mean, we're gonna get there, whether it's, you know, equity, pushing for equity, you know, getting out of COVID, like, so that was, all of the imagery was incredibly impactful. You all did a phenomenal job.
Yeah,
Thank
that
you.
was
Everyone
I
worked
that
really.
make and I know you guys told us at the beginning, before the videos were created and our pieces were still being commissioned and composed for us. You guys were like, "We're gonna make a real music video. We're gonna make this like," and I was like, "Really?" I was like, "Wow, that's a lot of work," but it really came off, and it was an amazing experience for hopefully for the viewers that watched, and hopefully will live on to speak past this. So I would love to invite everyone to turn on their videos that's in Zoom right now so we could just show our faces and thank all of our viewers together and just um, show that everyone that was a part of this project. Yay! Thank you, everyone. Thanks for watching. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for tuning in. We are going to put this up on our Breathe Collective YouTube page. So if you would like to share it with anybody who wasn't able to tune into the premiere, we will all probably be sharing it on our social media pages as well. But phenomenal job to all the composers and all of the performers involved. This was an incredible project to be a part of.
Yeah, and I also want to throw in a thank you to all the videographers and editors and directors that helped us with the videos. Wow. I wish I knew everyone's name, but I actually don't at this moment in time, but I'll be sure to post it later on in our Facebook. So thank you, everyone. And please check out these composers' works and please think about commissioning them yourselves because they're, as you can tell, just very talented and deserve it. So thank you, everyone.